Sometimes life lets you down and you feel that you are done. You just want a morning run because the fun is all gone. But sometimes life makes you proud when you look far and wide, when you leave the pain behind and see the brighter side. TNC gives you inspiration. TNC reignites your passion. TNC starts your transformation. TNC helps you see the new you.
The new channel. The new channel.
The views, opinions, and insights expressed in the following show are those of the hosts, producers, guests, and viewers. They do not necessarily reflect the position of the channel. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello, you're watching the new channel. We are here to help you see the new you. I'm Leo Bryan, and this is Foreign Affairs. Hello. Welcome to Foreign Affairs. I'm Leo Bryan, your host, and here we are on episode 4. And I'm going to tell you this one today, we're going to stray from talking to foreigners, and we need to talk to some locals about what foreigners should know. I'll tell you, I've lived in 6 countries in my life, and every time I've gone to a new country, I've always gone in. A lot of times I've gone in not knowing much legally, not knowing much in terms of visas, registration, information, know-how, how to get settled into the country. I've just kind of found out on my way how to figure these kind of things out. So that's why today I decided to invite a special guest, someone who can inform us, the foreigners, or any of you who are maybe thinking about making a move abroad, maybe thinking about going to a new country, a new place, and get a little information, a little background prep before you leave and once you get to the country. This kind of information I've personally found out in the middle of the road, going down, in my journey. Had to pick it up and hunt this stuff down, but I figured I'd cut to the chase, jump the shark, and get you guys the information ahead of time. So today I'm going to bring on a special guy, gentleman named Attorney James Bryan Agustin. He graduated from UP Dillman, also graduated from the San Beda Law School here in the Philippines, which is a highly reputable law school here in the country. And he currently is the main partner and owner of JB Agustin Law Offices. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Attorney James Agustin to the show. James, you there?
Hi, good morning. Thank you for having me on your show.
Thank you for being here, Attorney. Appreciate it. So I'm really glad you're here because, first of all, changing the show a little bit, instead of focusing on my foreigner buddies and acquaintances, I want to help some foreigners and people that are making that move abroad. And I figured you were the perfect person to talk to. When people are making that first jump abroad, we often think of the beaches. We often think of maybe the love relationship we're going to have. We think of the food. We think of the parties. We think of the job, but we don't always know the legal ramifications and steps that really could be taken ahead of time to help out the journey. And then once you are in country, things to do. I was telling the people before, there's a lot of stuff we're going to be talking about today that I personally, I'm sure I'm going to learn stuff. So I know that, but like there's some stuff I know here, but I had to learn on my own in the middle of the road, in the middle of the stream going down river. I had to go and grab a branch and find something out, which I'm hoping our conversation today can avoid that. So first of all, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
It's an honor and it's my pleasure to be here too.
Thank you very much. We did a little bit of our homework, being the good attorney, being prepared. You had prepared a list for us to go over with the certain time period. So we're going to talk about before you arrive to a country, the pre, and then once you arrive, staying in the country, and then the post, leaving the country. So without further ado, why don't we just jump into it and we'll get in on the list. I think it's a great way to do it because that way people can have a good format of ideas and what to focus on. So why don't we start with the first part of the list, the definition of a tourist visa. This is the most common visa. Correct me when I'm wrong, please. The most common initial visa that just about everyone gets when they show up to a country is they're given a tourist visa, which here you stipulate can be restricted or non-restricted. So let's break down what a tourist visa is. And also let's touch on time frames because I know those can sometimes change. And then please elaborate restricted versus non-restricted. Sir.
All right. Yeah. You can call me James. So,
Okay.
to be very short, we discussed first what a tourist visa is. A tourist visa is basically a entry visa. It is a single entry visa here in the Philippines, and it may be issued to other foreigners. Maybe those are the non-restricted ones, and the restricted ones. So if you are a restricted version, we have a list issued by the Philippine government for those who are restricted and non-restricted. For example, we have a non-restricted version. We're American, right? So we're a non-restricted version. That means we can enter the Philippines anytime without going to the Philippine embassy or get yourself a tourist visa. We are given an initial 29 to 30 days into here, and you may extend it anytime when you are here. However, for the restricted versions, they need to go to the Philippine embassy and get a tourist visa. So that's the main difference. I can send you a list and you may share it to your friends. There are about 132 non-restricted versions. An example is Belgium, Italy, from the US, from the Poland, South Africa, and from Spain.
So
that is the main difference, and this is actually a distinction made by the Philippine government based on treaties entered by those countries, and there are reciprocal treaties being given by those countries, and
these nationals may enter the non-restricted nationals may enter the country at any time, and they are given 29 days.
Okay. 29 days. Okay.
Yes.
And is 29 days, is that the normal standard first amount of days that every unrestricted, non-restricted national is given?
Yes, that is a general 29 days given. However, there are a few exceptions. If we are under, if their treaty only allows 15 days, sometimes there are 10 days, depending on the nationality. But the main concept to understand is you can go in anytime without a visa that you need to secure before going to the Philippines.
Okay. Okay. So,
So
on the restricted countries, what they have homework beforehand of attaining a certain visa to allow them to come to the country.
yes, they need to go to the Philippine embassy and
Okay.
apply for a tourist entry visa here in the Philippines.
Copy. Okay. And then you stated there's 132 countries that are considered restricted or non-restricted.
Those are non-restricted nationals.
Non-restricted. So there's approximately, let's guesstimate, 55 to 60 countries that should do the pre-step visas. Go to the Philippine embassy and get those visas ahead of time.
Yes.
So something to look out for people listening that are in such restricted companies or countries, excuse me, is to investigate, is your country restricted according to Philippine immigration?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, great. So let's move on. What's the next step? We talk about what do you need your passport, your country's passport to have before coming to the country?
Okay. The usual is you must have at least 6 months, but I recommend my clients and my friends to have at least a 1-year validity prior to leaving the country. It makes it doesn't make sense if you only have 6 months, because the 6 months is too short for us, though it is allowed by law for you to enter if you have a validity of 6 months. But I recommend your passport should be valid at least 1 year when you enter the country. Another one is when you enter the Philippines, immigration officers will look for the following. They will look for a return ticket and a hotel reservation. So you need those printed so that you won't have any hassle when you enter the Philippines.
Got it.
Uh,
That's very
I-
universal.
yeah,
I've had that in other countries.
Besides from these legal requirements, I will be recommending some tips for foreigners when they come here in the Philippines. And a good example is you need to bring a smartphone or buy at least a smartphone here in the Philippines. There are cheap ones you can buy here in the Philippines, locally made, of course. And you need to get a SIM card. It's like a service provider which you can pay for prepaid. We call it here in the Philippines. You need to load or get some credits.
Yes.
Another, of course, is you need to have an extra pocket money or your credit card, just in case. And of course, your emergency contacts. You have to write it down. Actually, I would suggest that you write it near your passport or attach it to your passport, so that if anything happens, your embassy or local officials or authorities here in the Philippines could contact your family relatives or your emergency contacts.
Okay. And what to what extent of information do you recommend to have of emergency contacts?
Okay, the name and the number of your emergency contact, that would be sufficient.
Okay. Okay. I think one thing that's overarching theme about everything you said. So we're talking about a passport with at least 1 year validity, having the mobile phone, having the prepaid SIM card, the hotel reservation, the exit ticket. Those are very common. I've, in my experience, whether coming to a country or in the country, if you're able to have more paperwork and stuff on hand, prepared ahead of time, that such as this, like if you could show up to the country with all this stuff printed out, you're going to look to the people a little more ready, and they're actually going to take you a little more seriously, right? Like,
yes.
There's kind of like, you've dressed up, amazing today, by the way, great tie.
Thank you.
Like you look, like you want to look official, look like an attorney. You look like an attorney right now. Like if you want to show up like a tourist who knows what they're kind of doing, or a visitor who
Yes.
knows what they're doing, show up with that paperwork and have that stuff ready to flip. Instead of being there with not sure where stuff is, you can really jump ahead of a lot of preconceptions of the people that you have to deal with in order to do that. Quickly, let's talk about this passport with 1 year validity, and it's kind of a tangent. This would also lend, I would believe, to someone coming to a new country is also to investigate and check that your country has a consulate in the Philippines. Am I correct?
Yes.
Because of that next step, I myself have gotten passports abroad, and it's not overnight, even with an American passport, even with such great relations with the Americans here and such a presence, it takes time to get a passport here too. So even for an American, so I could imagine someone coming from another country what would you recommend in terms of finding the consulate, being aware of consulates, etc., and dealing with consulates? What would you recommend, sir?
Right. I would recommend that, of course, if you need to find the nearest consul or embassy of your country, to know ahead of time if there will be a need to, of course, if you need to renew your passport, or if you lost your passport or your passport got burned or mutilated, you need to go to that office and have it replaced or extended or renewed. It would be practical and very logical for you to know ahead of time. And of course, the contact numbers and the exact address, you should know that. That's my recommendation, Lee.
All right. And in terms of acquiring the prepaid SIM card, people are okay coming in with their SIM cards from abroad. What any advice or recommendations when it comes to handling, say, a SIM card versus a SIM card from abroad versus one locally bought? What would you recommend on that?
Yeah, I would recommend there are providers here. You can find it at the airport. They have booths. You can buy SIM cards there. There are a few companies that offer that. So it's all the same as long as it's prepaid and you can use it. So that's fine. You can choose whichever service provider that is available when you come here in the Philippines. Actually, there are a few booths when you enter when you go to pick up your luggage. So you can choose. There are several ones, and you may also use your service provider from your home country. However, I wouldn't recommend that because it will entail more charges on your part when you use that here in the Philippines, and it is very hard for locals here for you to contact you because there will be we will be like calling you abroad. So I would recommend a local one, a Philippine-based SIM card.
Okay. Yes. It's a great point. I can speak from experience that having both a foreign number and a local number, I have used the foreign number on occasion and it comes up foreign to locals, and hence they avoid calling.
Yes.
Sometimes they avoid texting, and thank God for WhatsApp and Viber and Messenger, because that's there are no roaming charges on those. Thank God. So that very much, I know what you mean by getting that local SIM card. Quick question. So now let's say someone arrives, they get off the plane, they're walking through NAIA or whatever other airport they show up to, and they're coming down to do the customs, picking up their luggage. You mentioned something about go to the booths. What are some good points and key points when you get into the airport? Who are you avoiding and who can you trust? What do you recommend on that?
Okay. If you are can we go back? I think we missed a few points when we jumped a little there, Lee.
Sure, to the arrival. Too soon? To the arrival.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Let's go back. Go back, please.
Let's go back. I need to discuss our new normal right now when it comes when you go here to the Philippines before.
Okay.
So we are still experiencing the pandemic because of the COVID-19 virus, and there are some restrictions issued by our government when it comes to entry here in the Philippines. I mentioned during our first discussion about the tourist visas. However, right now, foreigners are restricted to enter the Philippines, except the following: foreign diplomats. Number two is those who have permanent resident visa status, or what we call the 13A series here in the Philippines, or if you are married to a Filipina, or you have Filipino children here in the Philippines. So,
Okay.
and you need to follow the Interagency Task Force Against COVID rules upon entry. So you need to have a swab test, and of course, we don't have a fiance visa right now. So if a foreigner wants to come here in the Philippines and marry a Filipina, we have to wait for these restrictions to be lifted. As of now, there are the DFA and the Bureau of Immigration of the Philippines are working on some rules regarding this because a lot of foreigners are requesting the Philippine government to extend the exceptions to the restriction right now. So aside from the restrictions that I mentioned from the first as a tourist visa, there is another restriction for the COVID-19 new normal issued by the Interagency Task Force Against COVID, the Department of Foreign Affairs, and the Bureau of Immigration.
Okay. First question, where would someone be able to check and analyze the IATF restrictions?
We have the Department of Health website. They post the IATF rules. You can check it anytime, and it's in their website.
Department of Health.
Yes.
doh.gov.ph maybe?
Yes. Yes. doh.gov.ph.
Okay, great. Okay. Now, let's thank you for saying let's go back, because I there's something more too. Let's even go back to when foreigners are still in country before they come here. Let's say let's say there were no restrictions, or let's say the restrictions have been lifted and now they're planning to make the move. What are some legal, paperwork or certifications or stuff apart from your passport, apart from your travel plans? What are some different things, like, let's say someone's going to come and they're looking to do the fiance visa, get married, etc. What kind of paperwork and stuff can someone do to get ahead of the game? What are some off the cuff type of stuff that maybe someone wants to be ultra prepared? Would you recommend someone getting ahead of time that they can get in their own country?
I'm sorry, Lee. Can you repeat that? My internet is breaking up. Hello?
Yeah, no problem. So what I was asking was, when someone is still in their own country before they make the move out here, and let's assume the current pandemic restrictions have been lifted, or there were never restrictions to begin with, someone is making the move out here, what would you recommend? What are some other points or accreditations, certifications that people can get ahead of time before coming out, beyond having the valid passport, having the travel plans, hotel reservation, etc., and contacts? Are there specific legal paperwork that you would recommend someone getting before they come to the country?
Well, actually, these are the general ones, and it's fairly easy to enter the Philippines. So you don't need any other certifications other than those that I mentioned right now.
Okay, great. what was the other thing? Oh, so let's go back to wanted to talk about the
Yeah,
arrival.
yeah.
We were
You
talking
were
about the
mentioning,
arrival to the airport. What, as you know, in legal advice, what do you recommend to people when they arrive to the airport? Who are they avoiding? Who are they trusting? What are some signs to keep aware of when you show up to the airport? Because, you know, let's be honest too. A lot of the flights, in the case of the States, a lot of those are red eyes that show up at 4 a.m. You know, someone's been on a plane for 12 hours, showing up at 4 a.m. You know, new country, new part of the world, new language. What are the recommendations as from a legal perspective to be aware of?
okay, so when you are here in the Philippines and you're at the airport, lined up for an immigration officer's interview. So that's the first thing that you will experience here. You will line up and then go to an immigration officer. They will interview you. So usually, if you are a tourist, of course, you are for pleasure. However, you may also do some business here. An isolated business transaction may be done as long as it is not for gainful employment. So we have to discuss also what is a business and some versus a gainful employment under a tourist visa. So if you are doing business, of course, you just need to meet someone here and negotiate for a potential transaction. That is considered a business meeting, so that's allowed. However, if you are visiting here in the Philippines for gainful employment under a tourist visa, that is not allowed. What I mean by gainful employment is you are literally being employed by a Philippine company and you are working here in the Philippines. So that means either you have an employment contract or not an employment contract, as long as you work for somebody or for a company, that is not allowed unless you have a valid working visa and an alien employment permit. Okay, so those are the first things that you do. And of course, be courteous with the immigration officer. That's the first practical advice that I could give to everyone.
Yes.
Of course, immigration officers are people too, and everyone deserves respect. So they will also respect you, without even if they didn't know you. So those are you would expect from an immigration officer. So those immigration officers. They will be handling a lot of foreigners every day, and they know how to deal with foreigners, and they are trained. They are trained to be to know some of the things that they will be asking, and they will be eliciting some information from you. So be honest on what to tell them and be truthful, so that there won't be any problem.
Got
Okay.
it.
So assuming you passed the immigration officer and they will stamp on your passport your arrival, and as well as the validity of your stay here. You will see a little date there. So it's usually 29 days. And then you'll go ahead to pick up your luggage, and then you can buy your SIM card there. Then enjoy your stay here in the Philippines, attend to your business meeting, if any. And while doing that, of course, you need to abide by the laws of the Republic of the Philippines. And additionally, you have to to abide with the minimum health standards issued by the COVID task force. So I think that's about it for while you are staying here in the Philippines. If you have questions, Lee.
Yeah. I think the COVID issue is there's probably a glaring nice elephant sitting in the room right now with the COVID issues. Anyone who is coming, takes their swab, comes into the country, what are the quarantine measures currently for people coming into the country?
Okay. From the airport, you will be uh, you will take the swab test, and then you will be brought to a hotel. That's why I recommended you book a hotel. And then once you get your results, if it's negative, you will receive an email, and then you will give it to your hotel, and they will release you. However, if you are positive, unfortunately, you have to be quarantined, and if needed, you will be transported to the nearest hospital.
Okay. So in terms of hotel, you can pre-book your hotel and you'll do quarantine in your hotel until the result comes back.
Yes, it's usually
Okay. So you have that.
I think it's faster now. There are 1 day, 24 hours release of the swab test, so it's very fast now.
Got it. Got it. Okay, great. Well, I think that's a great summary for the pre-trip and the arrival here to the country. And I'm really glad we touched on the new COVID requirements because, one thing I've noticed throughout this pandemic is people not playing by different rules, but it seems like everyone has a different perspective or idea of what exactly those requirements are. And sometimes they're not that clear. So it's good to know you can go to the DOH website, investigate those ahead of time. Also making sure the validity of your passport is okay for at least a year as recommended by attorney. That's very important. And then also having all that paperwork, again, what you were mentioning when you talk to the officers, the immigration officers, that's another reason to have all that paperwork ready. You show up with a folder and you can present the folder and say, hey, what do you need to see? They're going to look at it and say, hey, my job's easier right now just because of this. They're going to like that. Let alone be courteous to treat them like. That's another thing we haven't touched on is when you show up at 4 a.m, they're there at 4 a.m. as well, checking your passport. So let's not forget what the immigration officers. We're gonna take a break real quick. We're gonna come back and we're gonna start talking about once you're here in the country, how to deal with that. Everybody, you are watching the new channel. Come right back to you. Welcome back to Foreign Affairs. I'm Leo Bryan, your host. Want to take this opportunity to remind everybody that besides, I'm very happy you're here watching this show, but the great thing is Foreign Affairs is one of over 20 plus shows now here on the new channel. This is, once again, I love to tell this story. This is a little sign of hope that came out of the pandemic. This new channel was created during the pandemic and has now grown to over 20 shows here listed. Some of the shows that you can enjoy apart from Foreign Affairs are The Big Picture with Lloyd Luna. This shares inspiring stories of notable personalities. The HR Hotline with Jesse Rebustillo, excuse me, I want to get the names right. Jesse Rebustillo introduces us to the wonderful world of human resources management. That's on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays at 1 p.m. Let me jump back to The Big Picture with Lloyd Luna is on Mondays through Friday at 7 p.m. Have an insightful Saturday afternoon because the family business is everyone's business every Saturday at 4 p.m. Hosted by Nato Agbayani. The Fourth Project is about life, business, and success stories. It's live from Dubai, UAE, 7 p.m. or 11 p.m. Filipino time. You also have Usapan Kagandahan, Kakikayan Akasiyahan, a show that enlightens us to find the beauty in everything. Usapan Beauty is all about beauty beyond what your eyes can see. Those are on Thursdays and Saturdays at 5:30 p.m., hosted by Joby Lisangan Moreno, a seasoned host from ANC and Go Negocio, and also owns chains of salons and businesses. Discover your life purpose and learn from others' turnaround stories by turning into U-Turn, Mondays and Thursdays at 10:30 a.m., hosted by Carmine Ortega. And then we also have The Home Buyers, where you hear remarkable stories about building and owning a property. Those are on Mondays and Thursdays at 4 p.m., hosted by Dante Salamat. We also have Laugh and Learn through the Puppet Stories every Monday at 5:30 p.m. Juanlu Lunaria and his main puppet character, Nicolo, are the hosts. Magbenta Bumili at Tumulong dahil bukas na ang TNC Marketplace, online night bazaar, every Thursday and Friday at 10 p.m., hosted by Nez Argami and Anj Kabugwit. Yola is for all of us to understand that law is fun and cool too, every Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Modern Day Compañero and Compañera, attorney Carlos Ibanez and attorney Sheila San Diego. Two leaders in one platform, TNC The Talk, Mondays at 12 noon. Dennis Calamba is a teacher and professional speaker. He's one of the hosts. And then we also have After Shift, a chillaxing show about your choices and lives after work. These are on every Wednesday and Friday at 8:30 p.m. Chino Ahorro and Trisha Montemayor are the two hosts. Discover your talent and learn how you can share it with others through Win Within every Saturday at 8:30 p.m. Dream, Achieve, Nurture, and Inspire. Tag your kids along and watch Dani Art Show Fridays at 5:30 p.m., hosted by Dani Acuna. The world is facing an unprecedented pandemic. Time to hear positive testimonies straight from those who recovered from the disease. We have COVID stories every Saturday at 10:30 a.m., hosted by Mike and Nice Alvier. Watch and learn about money and more. Streams live from the Philippines and the U.S. Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m. Philippine time and 5:30 a.m. California. Sunny Jaidon and Haiti Lumino are your two hosts. We also have Because Health is Wealth, Healthline on Wednesdays and Fridays at 4 p.m. And your hosts are Mon Mendoza and Mapet Orgino. Educate, encourage, empower, and elevate women in different industries across the globe. Women at Work on Saturdays at 9 a.m., hosted by Ellen Perez. Either you start your day right or you start your day night. Spell your duty and sure make it an awesome day every day. Mondays at 2:30 is hosted p.m. by Ian Barcelona. In a world where everything is turning out digital, you can watch Cyber Next. Streams every Wednesday at 12 noon, hosted by Patrick Geronimo and Ivan Judge Buscano, and mentored by a seasoned expert, Miguel Ramos. Understand the emergency technologies shaping our future. Give light to your future digital dilemmas. Tech evangelist Marvin Salazar is hosting every Friday at 2:30 p.m. And then, of course, Foreign Affairs every Tuesday, hosted by myself at 10:30 a.m. And also make sure to catch also the TNC original shows as one day, an inspiring 30-minute storytelling. It alternates with the TNC Town Hall co-hosted by TNC founders Lloyd and Apple. This show is where we talk to you, our valued audience, about our shows on TNC. More upcoming TNC shows will truly inspire you. Not to mention, we also express interest to collaborate with talents or brands who would like to work with us in creating a live stream show concept. So if you have an idea, reach out to TNC about your idea. And please follow our channel on Facebook and YouTube, and let us help you see the new you. Hashtag see the new you. So welcome back to Foreign Affairs. I'm a testimony to reaching out to the TNC channel, to Mr. Lloyd and Miss Apple about the same idea that became Foreign Affairs. I highly recommend it to you too. If you want a place to stream and have an opportunity to reach out to the world, TNC is definitely the place. Let us drag back in my estimated attorney, James Agustin. James, let's talk about, welcome back. Let's talk about, once people are here staying in the Philippines, some of the things to do. We already talked about talking with the immigration officers, being courteous, and also the difference between a business and gainful employment. In the terms, so let's really go back real quick and clarify. You mentioned that when someone comes here on terms of business and they're here to negotiate potential business interactions or transactions, the key definer there, can we say, is the potential business transactions. When they've come here to negotiate, come here to investigate a market, come here to check the scene out for their business, when it's all potential, then it's okay. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct. The main thing that you should consider is you earned while you are here, and you didn't earn something by virtue of unemployment or a work from the Philippines. That is not gainful employment. That was just an isolated transaction, and there is no employer-employee relationship, and of course that is just a preparatory business deal, so that is allowed by the Philippine government.
Okay, so once someone is here, let's get into a couple of the dealing with your visa once you've stayed here. A great, very common situation, which I have done in a few countries myself because of my situation there, and I've noticed quite a few people do it here for one reason or another. Let's talk about when you want to extend your visa, and then let's get into overstaying your visa. What are the steps to do? I have my visa, my date is coming up, when it's going to run out. What do I need to do? What are the steps to extend my visa?
Okay, so basically we're talking here, Lee, that you don't want to live yet the Philippines. It's
Correct.
Because it's either you love the scenery, you love the hospitality of the Filipinos, you want to do some business here, you want to get work here. Those are some of the reasons that you don't want to leave. So basically, you would want to party more, go to the beach. You just basically you love the Philippines. So
if it happens, it happens.
Yes. So the first thing that you should do is, of course, extend your tourist visa. So, for example, it's almost the 29th, and you need to go there. Do not go on the 29th. That will be very tight. You can have it extended, but I don't recommend that, going on the 29th day. At least go at least 3 days before, so that you won't have any hassle. Extending your tourist visa, you need to go to the Bureau of Immigration, bring your passport, line up there, get a form. You will submit it to the immigration officer. Submit your passport. They will assess a fee for your tourist visa, pay it, and then they will return back your passport with an extended tourist visa for another 30 days. So that's how easy it is. You can also have a representative do that for you. If you want another person to do that for you, you may issue a special power of attorney in favor of that person. Or if you will hire a law office or travel agency who are accredited by the Bureau of Immigration. You can just give your passport, and then they will extend your visa for you.
Okay. So, all right, let's go through that process. You want to hire up a law firm or a group that's to get the extension done. First step, make sure they're accredited, correct?
Yes, yes,
Okay. Second, you'll pay them a fee for the process and the fees that are included, correct?
yes, yes,
And then demand also receipts for all of those transactions, correct?
yes. Usually, the Bureau of Immigration will issue a sticker for tourist visa. However, right now, because of the pandemic, we don't have sticker tourist visas. Those yellow stickers.
Right.
You will be issued an official receipt, which bears the validity at the bottom of the official receipt of your tourist visa. If
Okay.
there is a date there, it will be highlighted and countersigned by an immigration officer, so that you will have reference on your last day of tourist visa validity.
Okay, great. You make a great point, and I'm really glad you said this. Your date is the 29th when your visas runs out. Don't go on the 29th,
Of
cut it
course.
close.
Yes,
So-
that's good sight.
Two-part question coming up. If it's not the 29th, how many days leeway do you give yourself? Second of all, what are the other timing pieces of advice you give, such as day of the week, time of day? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like there's some other things at play when it comes to going to the immigration. It's not Starbucks. You don't show up, get your coffee, and walk out. So what else do you recommend? So first of all, if it's not the 29th, what kind of leeway do you recommend? Second of all, what other timing mechanisms or tactics do you recommend?
Okay, my answer to those two questions are built into one. So you need to extend your tourist visa at least 3 working days. So working days here in immigration is Monday to Friday. So if
Got it.
your visa expires on the 29th, which is a Sunday, you need to go back 3 days working day. So Friday, Thursday, you need to start. You need to go to the immigration on Wednesday.
Okay.
So those are the timings and specific dates for you to go to extend your visa.
Do you, and in your experience, is it better to get there right at the crack of dawn in the morning? Do you recommend later in the day? Is that a problem ever?
Right. Right now they have they have online appointments, so you'll get you'll get a schedule on the time, and you need to print your appointment schedule. You'll have a QR code, present it to the guard, and they will let you in.
Got it. Okay. So, then finally, the question to add on to this, the vast majority of people, I would like to believe, I don't have the studies or reports, come through Manila, and they start their arrival to the Philippines in Manila. Now, it's not the only entry point, as we know. There are other entry points in the country. Are there immigration offices in every single province, in every single big city, or just in Cebu, Manila?
There are satellite offices of the Bureau of Immigration. There are offices in the provinces. You can check it out in their website. One big office is in Cebu. They have in Pampanga. They have in some major provinces. In Mindanao, they have in Davao. So it would be convenient for the foreigners to go there and extend their visa.
Where would you find the location of these branches?
These are the list of these satellite offices are located at the website of the Bureau of Immigration. That's immigration.gov.ph.
immigration.gov.ph and satellite branch offices.
Yes, they have a list there. You can check it out, their addresses as well as their contact numbers. I think it would be practical to call them first and ask what to bring, or is it okay to go there, because sometimes they are closed because of the disinfection and they have their schedules. So it would be, I would recommend calling the satellite office first before you go there.
Got it. Got it. So make the call first and then do pay a visit
Yes.
once you know better what's going on. Okay,
Yeah.
great. So check out immigration.gov.ph for the satellite branches. But if you're in Manila, you can go to satellite branches, or you just head down to the main office and get down to the headquarters and get it done there. Correct?
Yes, here in Manila, we have several satellite offices here in NCR. We have one in Makati. We have one in BGC, that's inside the mall. It's in Aura. We have one in Taytay, Rizal. So you have choices to go to. Yes, the main office is it's a bigger office, but I would recommend you go to the satellite offices right now. You don't need to get an appointment if you go to a satellite office. Only in the main office.
Got it. Got it. Great. All right, attorney, we're going to break for another commercial break, but we'll next get into what happens when you got to get out of here and leave this place. You don't want to, but you have to. So let's go to a break real quick. Thank you, attorney. We'll be right back here on the new channel. Welcome back, everybody, to Foreign Affairs here on the new channel. I'm your host, Lee O'Brien, and I'm here with my special guest, attorney James Agustin, and we're talking about the issues of how to deal with the pre-arrival, arrival, stay, and then now we're going to talk about leaving the country, all the legal steps. So, attorney James, you could come back in, please, sir.
Yes.
There you are. All right. So, you've made it to the country. You've been able to stay. Somehow or some way, you've been able to stay. Why don't we talk about what you need to have on hand for your departure? And then let's get into what happens when we get these overstays. You know what I mean?
Okay. All right. Assuming you want to leave the country. That's the first assumption we have.
Yeah.
Okay. You need first your return ticket, and on your passport you must have a valid existing visa, meaning the 29 days that was issued to you, assuming you will be needing to live within the 29 days. That's still a valid existing visa. However, if you you exceeded your 29 days, you need to extend it first before leaving.
Got
I have to caution you too, foreigners. If you stayed more than 6 months under a tourist visa here in the Philippines, you will need to get an immigration clearance certificate, or what we call the ECC. In colloquial terms, we call it exit clearance. That you need to get a form, submit it to the Bureau of Immigration, uh, and then you pay some filing fees. It's about 500 pesos. I'm not sure of the price right now. And then they will issue an order allowing you to leave the country, and you are cleared to exit the country on a certain date. So
got it.
that's if you are under a tourist visa and you stayed for more than 6 months here in the Philippines. Uh, that's needed. However, if you did not exceed the 6 months, you can, of course, you need a valid existing visa during those before the 6 months. You can go to the airport, pay the exit clearance there. So there are two
Okay.
types of exit clearance. Exit clearance, you need to apply with immigration office, and the other one is exit clearance paid at the airport. Okay,
Okay.
and
So
the exit clearance paid at the Bureau of Immigration and applied and paid at the Bureau of Immigration, that is based on a more than 6 months stay here in the Philippines, while the exit clearance paid at the airport is less than 6 months under a valid tourist visa.
do those two fees differentiate? Does the more than 6 months cost more than, say, the under 6 months?
Uh, yes, yes. I'm not sure. I need to double check the amounts.
Okay.
But the exit visa paid at the airport, I think it's about 3,200 pesos. And the other one is, I'm not sure if it's 500 or 3,000 paid at the Bureau of Immigration.
Got it. Got it. And so, okay, so basically, the big key point is a 6 month cutoff.
Yes.
That's what you figure out whether you need to go to get the ECC at BI, at Bureau of Immigration,
Yes.
or if you can pay an exit fee at the airport itself.
Yes.
Connecting to your point about when you have your 29 days, and let's say your 29 days expire, then those are, and you just decide to go the next day, that's considered that under 6 month pay the exit fee.
Yes.
Okay, great. Now, so we've got an interesting issue now too with the whole COVID pandemic. There's been some people that have been forced to stay in the country. What are the methods? What's been done for those people in terms of accommodating those people that were here on tourist visas? Have they been required this whole time to go and renew constantly, or have they been able to stay out? What was the method on that? And then what going forward will those people need to do?
All right. Okay. We need to clarify first. The foreigners are required, of course, to extend their visa while here in the Philippines. However, exceptions were given by the Bureau of Immigration during the pandemic, during the months of March and April, wherein the immigration office didn't require foreigners who have expiring visas to go to immigration. Of course, we are under the enhanced community quarantine, and nobody is allowed. Everyone is required to stay at home, so we can't go to the Bureau of Immigration. But when it became general community quarantine, the Bureau of Immigration will require you to extend your visa or update it. So if you weren't able to extend your visa during March and April, you will not be penalized by the Bureau of Immigration. You will not be given penalties, and you are not considered as an overstaying as long as you extend or update your tourist visa within 30 days after the lifting of the ECQ. Now, if you failed to extend your tourist visa after the 30 days extension given by the Bureau of Immigration, you are now considered an overstaying foreigner. Okay, if you are an overstaying foreigner, we also need to qualify if your overstay is more than 6 months or less than 6 months. Either way, you have to petition you have to file a petition with the Bureau of Immigration for your overstaying. Petition to update your overstay. It requires filing an application form and paying the standard tourist visa fees and some penalties and fines. So on the packet side, it would be burdensome on the foreigner. However, if you are not more than 6 months, it's easier. If more than 6 months overstaying, the immigration office will need to evaluate first, and then they will allow you to update your tourist visa, pay the fines, and pay the penalties. Then they will require you to get an exit clearance, and then allow you to leave the country.
Okay.
So it's more complex and tedious work for the foreigners if you are overstaying.
And in your petition, when you get past those 6 months, is the petition less likely to be approved because you stayed over those 6 months?
Not
Like, is your overstay time, does that affect your petition possibilities in the sense that if you overstayed a week, it's not like you overstayed 6 months, or a week versus a month versus 6 months?
not necessarily. It's the fine and the penalties that which will get bigger.
Okay.
So either way, your petition will be approved, and you will be allowed to leave the country.
To leave the country.
Yes.
Okay. And so is there any process, correct me if I'm wrong, is there any process for petitioning and then being able to stay in the country, or is there a required exit and then you can return later?
Okay. If you want to stay here in the Philippines, there will be you will file another petition or a motion for reconsideration to allow you to stay here in the Philippines. And depending on what reason that you will give to the immigration, they will evaluate it and then approve it. And if you are required to leave the country and then you want to return in the future in the Philippines, you have to check if you were put under the watch listed overstaying foreigners. If you are a part of that list, you need to apply with the nearest Philippine embassy a petition to lift your blacklisting, or you may want to hire a lawyer for that to work for you here in the Philippines and get you a lifting of that list.
Got it. Okay. So there's also another secondary investigation you should be making. Are you on this watch list of overstay people, or watch list because of other reasons? There's always
Yes. If you've been here,
yeah.
If you've been here in the Philippines before and you've overstayed for some time, when you go back here in the Philippines, you need to do an extra work and find out if you are watch listed, or if it's still there, you need to petition the Philippine government to remove that list, your name from that list.
Got it. Okay, great. Well, attorney, to wrap up, I want to finish on a very more general note, but still educational. You've worked with numerous foreigners at different points in the path, whether it being arriving, staying, leaving. Once you're staying, getting into other kinds of visas. Please tell us, what are those classic errors you see foreigners make and they need to correct, and you want to tell them here do this, don't do that. What are a couple points that you constantly see repeated, and you just could tell the foreigners now? What are some things you recommend?
Okay. As a general tip to our foreigner friends who wants to visit here in the Philippines, my my recommendation would be, of course, you plan ahead, follow my recommendations, and then just enjoy and be courteous with everybody else, and just give them respect, and you will have no problem here in the Philippines.
Fair enough. Sounds good, attorney. Well, attorney James Agustin, I would like to thank you for being here. Appreciate your time, and most of all, appreciate the wisdom and information you've shared with us. These are things that can help a lot of people, on whatever point of their journey they are in regards to the Philippines. And I appreciate you being here today for that. Thank you, attorney, for your time. Thank you for coming today to Foreign Affairs.
Thank you very much, Lee. It's my pleasure to be a guest in your show, and hope to be back here soon too.
It's very possible. I'm sure we're going to have some other ideas we'll need to talk with you. So thank you, attorney James Bryan Agustin, for your time today. Appreciate it. And thank you for being on Foreign Affairs.
Thank you too.
Well, I can speak from experience when it comes to those points that attorney brought up and the ideas that we talked about. I mean, everything is applicable here. Everything, is good to know ahead of time and once you're here in the country. And it's much like the pandemic we're going through right now. A lot of this information, you just don't know what you don't know. And so, need to find it, need to hear it. Hey, do this, do that, really helps. And especially for a lot of people here, that might be watching that are coming here just exclusively to be tourists. You're thinking about your trip, right? You're thinking about going to the beach. You're thinking about diving here. You're thinking about hiking this mountain. You're not thinking about, how can I extend my 20 days to 60 or et cetera, to, the steps that are required to do that, and it's a hassle sometimes. And I'm really hoping this episode helped you guys with that. So very happy that we could turn Foreign Affairs not only into some great interviews and entertainment and also some wisdom, but we're also doing a little educational preparation for those of you that are looking to make the move out here to the Philippines or to any country. These are very applicable ideas to just about any country here in the world. Want to thank all of you guys for being here for the 4th episode. My name is Lee O'Brien. I also want to take the time to shout out to the Pokeley Nation. We got Pokeley Cooking, the vlog. You can check it out on Facebook or on YouTube, Pokeley Cooking Official, or check out our Pokeley Cooking, Pokeley food products. We're doing all of the classic Filipino ulam and condiments. We got laing, we got suka, we got aligay. So reach out to Pokeley Food Products on either Instagram or Facebook today. And for those of you watching around the world, we will get to you. That is our goal. We will be seeing you abroad very, very soon. But today, thank you guys for watching the Foreign Affairs here on the new channel. And make sure to tune in next Tuesday at 10:30 a.m. Manila time. We're going to have another good time on Foreign Affairs. Thanks, guys. Take care.